So Goku gets sent on another fool's errand to this like winter mountain to get to get some snow that can like put out any fire, freeze anything. And Chi-Chi basically gets put on manual labor for the rest of
Well, because it's also the mountain.
Yeah, because the mountain is sexist.
Yeah.
It's literally a sexist mountain.
It's a sexist mountain.
That like will cause like a massive like winter storm if there's any female on it.
Yep.
Which happens because the Pilaf gang's there and Mai's there, which causes the mountain to cause the storm.
Yep.
And it literally at one point Pilaf just kicks Mai off the mountain to stop the storm, so that they can finally get the snow. And as he's heading back, Mai comes back, starts the storm again. And Goku just ditches them there at that point.
Yeah, he's just like, peace, I'm leaving.
But as Goku is like heading back, the snow is starting to like melt.
he takes like this giant snowball and it's just like flying away.
But Hey guys, I'm Bill, also known as the Barbecue Games on Instagram.
And I'm Alex, his sister, who brings only chaos.
And together we are the Gaming and Collecting Podcast, a mostly video game centered podcast.
But half the time, we just talk about anime.
And that collecting thing, well, that's mostly just an implication at best.
So come along and enjoy us on this adventure
as we discuss the games that shaped us. So, it's literally been 3 seconds since the last one we recorded, but how have you been?
I've been great. Wonderful.
So we're in the middle of like a mega recording session that we're on number 3 now.
Yeah.
So
not much has changed. We're also once again still drinking the remainders of our coffees.
Yeah, I'm getting to the end.
Yep, both of us are. You know, a little sippy.
And you know, we didn't talk about yesterday how you made the greatest mistake of your life.
I know. So yesterday, I told you the last one we went to our favorite place, Sip the Drip. One of our favorite places, Sip the Drip, and they usually each week they'll do like specials. And I was reading through one of the specials, and it was like pulled pork eggs Benedict. And I was like, ooh, that sounds really good.
Yeah, and I decided to try it because I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's be experimental today.
Yeah. Bill decided to try it, and I said, you know what? Nah, I'm just gonna get an omelet. And god damn
it showed up, and the look on her face was like, I have made a horrible mistake.
I wanted it so badly.
It was so good.
Ugh, I was so jealous. I really wanted to have it.
Yeah. And this morning we also went out for breakfast.
Yes,
to
we
the
went
Vernon
to
Diner.
The diner.
The
hell yeah, diner.
The hidden gem of this area.
Oh my god, it's not even hidden. Everyone knows about it.
It has a sign on the highway.
Yep, it's so freaking good. The staff is always great. They have awesome desserts and stuff too. We did that the other day.
Yeah.
We went there for dinner too because we're those people who eat at the same place. Just different meals though. Different meals. And we got cake. You got a cheesecake, right? It was like a chocolate cheesecake.
And you got this mouse thing.
They do like this chocolate mousse cake, but they call it chocolate mouse cake, and they put like a little mouse on top of it. I love that place though. Like we learned it like the other time we were there that like the owner is like a professional pastry chef.
Yeah.
So he made all the stuff there is made there, and it's all so freaking good.
I remember what she was like, I want you to come visit because it was I want to go to the diner.
Yeah, I didn't mean it. I was joking, but someone took it too seriously. Me.
Oh, shut it. I came for your birthday. I brought you a present.
I know, and I really appreciate it. I'm going to bring him to work eventually.
You didn't share what your present was.
Yes, so Bill got me. Oh, I can't wait to talk about this. Bill got me this awesome One Piece Wii game that I can't wait to play. And then he got me 2 One Piece pop figures. He got me a Luffy and he got me a Robin, which I'm really surprised that he found because like I can never find them. You can get them on Amazon, but everyone says that they're not real. So I'm like genuinely shocked you were able to find them. But the greatest part was the card. So I opened the card and I'm like, this looks really familiar. So I go to my fridge And there it is, the same card from last year. He got me the same exact card, so I put them both on the fridge.
Yep.
So that he can know his shame every time he goes in the fridge for a beer. Shame! Shame!
Well, to be fair, the stores haven't really restocked on cards in a while.
Yeah.
And it's been like 5 years. It's getting hard to remember which ones I've got already.
That's why you get a funny one. You gotta change it up. Genre.
Funny cards don't work for me. I've tried.
Yeah. I love a funny card. Give me the funnies. Give me the funnies.
Yeah.
Honk honk.
Don't pull my hair. Yeah, we did that though, and we adventured. Yep. So Alex learned, get the special.
Get the special. Yep. Get the special when you know it only comes around once. You should get the special. And also, like, instead of English muffins, it had cornbread, and I was like, eating it, and I was like, oh, I made a mistake.
There were so many things about that like you wouldn't think would go well together, but it was so good.
Oh, I'm still jealous over it, but I did enjoy my breakfast this morning, and Bill enjoyed. He got his breakfast burrito, and I got my omelet.
You know, it's funny. People always say pop figures are one of those things that's gonna die off, but they just aren't dying off.
No, yeah, people. I mean, they're just like so like small, cute, and easy.
I mean, they're not as big as they used to be by any means, but they're definitely still popular.
Oh yeah.
People are still buying them.
Yep.
Like that.
Yep.
It's kind of bad though that there's counterfeit ones out there now.
No, yeah, there's a ton of counterfeits.
But then again, there's counterfeit everything though, as it is.
Yep.
But yeah, so we're gonna take a break from gaming this time around because we've had a good amount of gaming, and we're continuing a series that we've started.
Anime swap.
And the whole, I guess we'll explain again, the whole idea of anime swap is we take two anime that are completely unrelated, no relation whatsoever, just that we've one that one person enjoys and one that the other enjoys.
Yep. And
we watch them.
Yep.
And we compare notes.
Yep.
Essentially. So this time around, we decided I was going to do an arc of OG Dragon Ball.
Yep.
And she wanted to do the first 5 episodes of
Mob Psycho 100.
Yes. Well, originally you wanted to do a different anime. We decided that wasn't going to work for this particular.
Well, which is how we were formatting it. It just it made more sense to do this than the other show.
We'll get to that one at a later point, though.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious what it is because Alex loves it, but we'll get to that at another time.
And it's not the one that we've already done, so whatever my second favorite is, you guys know.
But anyways, so yeah, One Piece and... No. You know what I mean. Yeah. OG Dragon Ball and Mob Psycho 101. 100. Whatever. Close enough. Hunter x Hunter. Tick you off. But anyways... So for the OG Dragon Ball, we'd actually decided to do the final arc of OG Dragon Ball, which is the Wedding Dress Saga.
Yeah.
And you know what? I love OG Dragon Ball just because it is so 80s.
Oh yeah, it's very, very 80s from the intro to like the artwork, like with that corny dragon drawing.
Oh yeah. Even though it was technically released in America during like the mid-90s.
Yeah.
It was very much an 80s show.
Yes.
Like you could tell just by the music, the high synthesizers, the super like grainy but charming like graphical style. You could also early Funimation voice work.
Yes.
Which is it's weird though because it was originally dubbed. It was actually dubbed I think after they did Z.
Oh really?
Well, because they redubbed Z like twice because their original dub wasn't very good, so they redubbed it, and they've also redone it for Kai. But they also then dubbed OG Dragon Ball, and we've watched it via the Blue Box DVD set. So the Wedding Dress Saga is literally the final arc of OG Dragon Ball before it transitions into Z.
Yep.
And it's essentially one giant filler arc just to explain Goku and Chi-Chi's relationship.
Yeah. Well, to explain, like, that they did get together and that they...
Well, because they get together during the final World Tournament. Because she comes back to meet him and he doesn't know who she is.
Yep.
He thinks wedding was a food.
Yep.
They fight and then they just randomly decide, okay, we're getting married.
Yep.
So this takes place right after Goku defeats Piccolo Jr., later known just as Piccolo.
Yep.
And so the whole plot of the arc is essentially Goku and Chi-Chi are going back to the kingdom because, it's been forgotten, but Chi-Chi's actually a princess of the Ox Kingdom.
Ox King, yep.
And so they're going to the castle to plan the wedding, and Goku is being himself, just eating way more food than necessary.
Yep.
And it's then revealed that Chi-Chi's father, the Ox King, is giving her mother's wedding dress.
Yeah.
Which is important to her because it's a family heirloom kind of thing. And her mother's passed away at this point.
Yeah.
So then, as they're getting ready for the wedding preparations, the castle burst into flames. Because originally it was on flames to begin with when they first encounter Chi-Chi and the Ox King, like way back early in the story. Mm-hmm. But the fire was put out by Roshi with the Kamehameha way the first time it appeared. So the fires come back, but this time it's like 3 times worse.
Yep.
And Goku manages to get Chi-Chi out of the fire, but her dad, to save the wedding dress, is stuck inside. So Goku initially tries to use the Kamehameha wave again to put out the fire, which appears to work, but then the fire comes back.
Yep.
So then they go on this quest, because the Kamehameha wave... yeah, that was bad. But Kamehameha wave. Kamehameha, whatever wave.
The wave.
The fire gets worse. So, coming back, then they have to go on a quest to find the Banjo fan, which was initially... The Banjo fan, or whatever.
I like calling it Banjo fan.
So,
I've been attacked.
So, initially they go on the quest to find the Banjo fan, which was actually what Goku was looking for the first time the castle was on fire, but they never could find it because Roshi lost it, apparently.
Yep.
So they go to the Kame house, and they run into the turtle, and the turtle goes through Roshi's porn collection.
Yep.
To find this book on where the Banjo fan...
Isn't it... Do they go there first, or do they go to the...
Oh, no. First they go to the fortune teller Baba.
Yeah.
Who, it's, they reveal, they find, like, an octagon-shaped thing, which is going to be a recurring plot theme in this whole arc.
Octagons. Yep.
Yeah. So they actually first go to this, village... Was the village called Octagon?
No, it wasn't...
No, I think it was, because the hot spring village.
Oh, yeah.
So they go there first, and it's like a village inhabited by like the pig guys that are similar to Oolong.
Yeah.
And Goku
and they're all named after teas.
Yeah, and Goku initially thinks that Oolong is one of them, but no, his name's actually Jasmine.
Yeah.
And then they all kind of like, so they send Goku off on a wild goose chase because they want to get Chi-Chi in the hot spring because they're pigs.
Yep.
So as
literally,
so as Baba and Chi-Chi are getting in the hot spring, the pigs are all surrounding the thing, trying to peep.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Goku is realizing they're on a fool's errand.
Yeah.
So they end up going back to. He ends up doubling back and finding the hot spring lake, which is shaped like an octagon.
Yep.
And he sees a thing at the bottom of the lake that's shaped like the Banjo fan.
Yep.
So as he goes down, while that's happening. Chi-Chi's beginning to get in the thing, but the pigs collapse the changing area.
Yep.
As expected.
Yep. And
they causes a big Chi-Chi to basically kick their asses.
Yeah.
And then the hot spring all of a sudden drains because Goku pulled out the plug at the bottom that was shaped like the Banjo fan.
Yep.
And then they see this pillar that has an explanation of where to go next, which leads them to the Kame house to talk to Turtle, who has a book from Roshi.
Yep.
Which leads them on another wild goose chase about these firebird feathers.
Yep.
And then they go for the firebird feathers, and we run into the Peel-Off gang.
Yep.
Because they're still around, and they're still terrified of Goku.
Yeah.
And in the process, we discover there's the final it was firebirds, right?
Yeah, firebird.
The final firebird egg. And throughout the whole encounter, they end up discovering that actually one firebird survived.
Woo!
And after they kick out the Peel-Off gang, the mother firebird hatches the final one.
Aww.
And it comes out, and then they find out that the feathers are actually it was a complete fool's errand.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't actually gather the feathers.
Yeah.
But
they would just kind of disappear as they fell.
But Chi-Chi does get a piece of the eggshell.
Yeah.
That will be important later.
Woo!
So then it's later revealed that Roshi eventually goes back to the Kame house and finds out that he basically explains that entire book was a load of shit.
I just used it to pick up women, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So then eventually we get to Goku and Chi-Chi end up in this other village with this it's like another like woman that looks kind of like Baba.
Yeah.
And her name is Octagon. So Goku gets sent down.
Wait, no, it's not actually Octagon.
Oh no, it's Octopus or something.
It's Octopus.
Yeah. So Goku gets sent on another fool's errand to this like winter mountain to get some snow that can like put out any fire.
Yeah.
Freeze anything. And Chi-Chi basically gets put on manual labor.
Yeah.
For the rest of
Well, because it's also the mountain.
Yeah, because the mountain is sexist.
Yeah.
It's literally a sexist mountain.
It's a sexist mountain.
That like will cause like a massive like winter storm if there's any female on it.
Yep.
Which happens because the Pilaf gang's there and Mai's there, which causes the mountain to cause the storm.
Yep.
And it literally at one point Pilaf just kicks Mai off the mountain to stop the storm, so that they can finally get the snow. And as he's heading back, Mai comes back, starts the storm again. And Goku just ditches them there at that point.
Yeah, he's just like, peace, I'm leaving.
But as Goku's like heading back, the snow is starting to like
melt.
He
takes like this giant snowball and it's just like flying away.
But in the process, as Chi-Chi's cleaning, she eventually gets tasked with sweeping up the entire lawn.
Yeah.
Like yard. And she finds out that the dustpan that she has to like, because she gets attacked by a bee.
Yeah.
So she uses the dustpan to swat it away, which turns out the dustpan was the Pancho fan, which causes a massive like windstorm.
Yep.
So eventually that whole plot line kind of resolves.
Yeah.
And at that point, Goku and Chi-Chi head off.
Wait. Before they leave, though.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm going to say.
Oh, okay.
They're about to head off, and they thank Octopus, whatever her name is, for helping them find the fan, because they obviously, the snow didn't work, but that doesn't matter. They found the fan.
Yeah.
But before they go, the lady gives Chi-Chi some of the honey from her bees.
Yeah.
Because it'll be important later.
Yeah.
So then they get back.
Oh, wait, but it's octagon honeycomb-shaped bees.
Yes.
Because everything leads back to the octagon.
Yes, because this is all one giant... This is a filler arc, by the way, but
yes.
It's a very fun filler arc. So then we get back to the castle, which the whole time the castle's burning, we keep seeing that the Ox King is literally running.
And the whole time I'm just like, he should be dead by now. He should be dead.
Which I always responded, anime.
And I said, no.
So then we get back to there, and they have the fan, and Goku keeps like waving the fan to the point where it keeps raining.
He's just making the fire worse. But it makes
the fire worse.
Yeah.
Because it's revealed
he's fanning the flames at this point.
Because it's actually revealed that the fire is actually coming from the
magical
magic
fire
furnace or whatever. It's some furnace thing. So once again they get sent off on another chase, and you laughed because Chi-Chi's pose was funny.
Yes, at one point, like...
the fire doesn't stop.
The fire doesn't stop, and she's, like, crying, and she just gets into the
She gets into the squatting pose that every Dragon Ball character does, but Alex's mind is, like, the mind of a 5-year-old sometimes.
It just looked like she was, like, going...
Alex was claiming that she had to use the bathroom because Alex has the mind of a 5-year-old sometimes.
Yes. Technically, I'm 6, so I'm allowed to. Anyways.
Whatever.
So Gigi took a shit.
What the fuck's wrong with you?
Gigi took a shit, and then they were like, "All right. Now that that's done."
You were dying laughing for like 20 minutes when you said
it was so. Well, you know what was funnier though was the fact that you were like, "No."
I'm like, it's a dramatic scene. And you just shat all over it.
Literally.
But anyways, moving on. So then they have to go. Basically, the furnace is in like this kind of like, it's an area that's between the living world and the nether world before Z revealed there's actually an actual area. Don't worry about that. Most of OG Dragon Ball gets forgotten anyways. But, so they're going down this long winding path, which is the longest winding path Goku's ever seen at that point. And the whole time they're like going through the path, they have all these obstacles to avoid.
Chi-Chi
almost gets impaled on spikes.
Yep.
Which is great.
Yep.
And then they find out that everything they've seen on the path is actually an illusion. So Goku literally launches through this like dragon thing, and they end up getting to the door, which leads to the furnace.
Yep.
And then they get to the furnace, and they find out that because it's an area between the afterlife and like the real world.
Yep.
So the furnace is actually managed by Goku's grandfather, Gohan, making his final appearance in the series.
Oh.
Because he's dead, but.
Womp womp.
Then we find out that the god that they were going to meet is actually a woman.
Yep.
And she's literally just like this giant, like, what would do is just eating noodles.
Yes.
Because the furnace is actually just a pot that's cooking
it's
noodles.
A hot pot. Yeah.
Basically. And begins the whole argument. Goku calls her old because he's stupid.
Yeah.
And starts a big fight, and then he reveals he has the Bancho fan.
Yeah.
Which then they finally decide, okay, there's probably a hole in the bottom of the furnace, so maybe if you happen to have these two items to fix it, you'd be great.
These two precarious items.
She's like just casually like, oh yeah, you need an eggshell from a firebird, and you need this honeycomb shaped bee honey. And she's like, hey, I have that.
I just happen to have those.
It's like almost like, oh, this wasn't for nothing.
Yes, but it was.
So then Goku has to they lift the furnace up long enough for Goku to blast the fire away with the Bancho fan temporarily to get to the bottom.
Yep.
Seal up the furnace, and then shoot back to the top with his power pole. You know, another thing that gets forgotten.
Yep.
By Z.
Womp womp.
And then they get out, and the fire is thankfully put out. Goku sees his grandfather one last time before they head back, and then they save the day and get married. And the series literally ends with them getting married.
Yeah.
Before going, and you can continue the adventures in Dragon Ball Z.
Where we completely write off everything.
Yeah, where the plot completely changes.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it was a fun arc. It's completely filler. It's not in the manga at all, but
Yep.
I enjoyed it personally.
I enjoyed it too. I mean, I was goofing on it at times because there's parts where like the voice actress for Chi-Chi, like she wouldn't even speak. She'd just go or
it was
just make these weird sounds.
It was a very young. Well, you know what? It was very young Cynthia Kranz at the time, and it's better than what she does now, where she's just on bitch mode 100%.
Oh yeah, no, and I'm pretty certain that some of it was direction too, or like maybe it was like translation error.
It was also just very early anime dubbing.
Yeah, you can definitely see the age.
Oh yeah. Well, just in listening to Cynthia Kranz and Sean Schimmel, they sound significantly different.
Oh yeah.
But well, it was just funny like watching that, and the whole. It's a fun little story.
Yeah.
It's definitely funny when if you've never seen OG Dragon Ball before and you've only ever seen Z.
Yep.
Going back to OG Dragon Ball, how different the show is.
Oh yeah.
Like it is a straight up comedy more than an action anime. Like action really doesn't happen much.
Yeah.
In OG Dragon Ball, it's more about the story, which is one of the reasons why OG Dragon Ball is just better in a lot of ways than Z. Z kind of loses the plot as it goes on. I enjoyed it though. It's fun going back to it. It's great character development because it's great to. I hate what they did to Chi-Chi from like Z onward.
Yeah.
Like, they just made her such an unlikable character.
Especially too, because like even from what I saw with just 5 episodes, like in Dragon Ball, like she's a fighter. She's like
has personality
traits, like, and
isn't a bitch 24/7.
Yeah, and it's also like frustrating too because I'm like she knew who she married.
Well, even that. Well, yeah, but you also got to realize too, Z made Goku 3 times stupider half the time.
Oh yeah, no, that's also
Goku
true.
Wasn't. I mean, he was dumb, but he wasn't like that dumb.
Yeah, well, because the whole joke is that like he like lost his memory because he like fell on his head when he landed.
Well, he's an amazing fighter, but he's kind of stupid for everything else.
Yeah.
He was also raised like on a hill by himself for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of Z changed the personalities a bit. I mean, well, also Z was supposed to be a Gohan show to begin with.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
And then it became just more of Goku, and the story got very complicated with the Saiyans as it went on.
Yeah.
It's weird looking back to how different the characters were early on.
And I can also understand what you mean by, like, when you were telling me that, like, Dragon Ball Super is kind of a mix of both the fighting and the classic, like, storyline and comedy of Dragon Ball. I'd have to say, like, I enjoyed Dragon Ball, but I think I like Dragon Ball Super better because I do like the action scenes as well. Yeah,
well, it's a more balanced anime. I will admit, we have to have you watch the Piccolo Jr. arc at some point because that is the best, probably arguably one of the best fights in the entire series.
Oh, okay.
But aside from that, I enjoyed OG Dragon Ball. I'd probably give it nowadays. I think I gave it like an 8 My Anime List.
Yeah.
The series. One of these days you're going to have to like sit back and actually watch OG Dragon Ball because it's old, it's very dated, but it is worth a watch just to see like how different the series was then. I'll
definitely give it a shot at some point.
I think it's on Funimation, isn't it?
I think so.
I'll have to check.
I'd have to though. My rating would have to be a 7. It's not that I didn't like. I liked it. I thought it was good. There's just some things that like. I feel like it's harder when you go back to old ones because I was telling you how I rewatched that show, Fushigi Yuji, where there's the voice actor who's voiced by the voice actor who does Cosmo, and I can't unhear it every time he speaks. And it just like, not that it ruined the show for me, but like, it did ruin a little bit of it, because there's some scenes where I'm just like, Cosmo, no, or like, Gordy, the janitor, no.
Isn't he Timmy's dad too? Or...
Yeah, and Timmy's dad, and like so many other characters that like I grew up with more. But I also like I could definitely see like there was some bad voice acting in that one too. Yeah. Like,
well, at least in Dragon Ball, all the voice actors are for the most part the same.
Oh yeah. No. Like,
and you do get an appreciation for how much better they've gotten over the years.
Oh yeah, no. And honestly, like the voice acting here was not nearly as bad as some of it in Fushigi Yuji. Like,
well, you got to realize that was that wasn't like Funimation. There's a reason why Funimation is one of like the best dubbing companies there is.
I don't even know who did Fushigi.
I think it was Media Blasters.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they definitely. So no, I definitely appreciate it. I'll definitely at one point go back and watch it all. It's just I feel like it's something that I'll have to watch in pieces.
Yeah, I will admit it's a much slower anime than Dragon Ball Z. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think I'll definitely have to go back and watch it in like pieces.
It's fun to watch though because it's definitely there's more. There actually is a story.
Oh yeah.
In Dragon Ball.
No, yeah.
As little of it as there is actually a story.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I guess we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to move on to Alex's show next. So we'll see you all in a bit.
Whee!
And we're back. And now I've done the talking. Now it's Alex's turn.
You didn't even let me say, and we're back myself. Don't
bleach your fake crocodile tears.
Well, I am hurt. Very, very hurt. Well,
yeah.
Anyways.
Weeb out.
So, as Bill chose the last 5 episodes of Dragon Ball, I chose the first 5 episodes of Mob Psycho 100. Because, I mean, Mob has, like, it does have arcs, but I feel like they're much, like, kind of shorter. Like, they're more like 2-episode little mini arc things, more focused around certain characters. So, I chose the first 5 episodes, and it actually timed out to where it left off in an okay spot, where you can pick it up eventually, but also, like, it wasn't like we stopped, like, halfway between a storyline or anything. So the first episode starts out, and it starts out with the editors basically showing off, in the animator showing off all the crazy stuff that they can do, because it basically starts off with the main character, Mob, being super OP, and...
Well, I mean, it is by the same guys as One Punch Man.
Yes, so, Mob Psycho was made by the same author, as One Punch Man. So he kind of these stories are kind of centered around 2 main characters who are OP. So as you start out, you have this scene where it's basically the editor showing off all of their awesome abilities, and then it kind of goes into the beginning of the story, which they first start the story off centered around the character Reagan. And Reagan is a self-proclaimed psychic, meaning he has no psychic powers, but
he's a con artist.
He's a con artist, basically. And so he starts off, he has these 2 clients, which Bill immediately commented on how a lot of the characters are really ugly.
There are some very unattractive characters in this show.
Which is kind of like a joke of the show, like a lot of the characters are ugly, or considered ugly. But there is some, like, characters, like, as we go on that are considered more pretty in Bill's eyes. But it starts out with these two characters, and one of them is like getting haunted by a ghost. And she totally believes in Reagan, totally is all for it. Well, her boyfriend is like, no, this guy's a total freaking fraud. Like, there's no way in heck this guy's gonna get rid of any ghosts. So it's basically Reagan is going through his spiel. The boyfriend doesn't believe her. The girlfriend's like, let's give it a try. Let's give it a try. So they leave Reagan's office and they're walking down the street. And she's like, all right, we're here. And Reagan points at a building, which is the complete wrong building. And he gets called out for it. And he's like, oh, sorry. There's just massive pressure over there as well. This must be your building. It is so...
I love how every time it, like, explains what he's doing to it, it just completely, like, points out how much of a piece of shit, like, how full of shit he is.
Oh, yes.
Like, his, like... Photoshop ability or some shit like that.
I think the first one is like, so they go in the building, and he has no abilities, so he's like just going around like, and he's pretending to be like, oh, I feel a massive ghost presence in here, blah blah blah.
It's like
blah.
Those ghost hunting shows.
Honestly, yeah. So that's happening, and he goes in, and then as it's happening, a ghost actually does reveal itself. And he's like, oh shit, there's actually a ghost here, dang it. So the first thing Reagan does is he takes table salt and, like, smashes it into the ghost. And the ghost is like, ah!
And then, like, wait, this doesn't actually do anything.
And he's like, that did nothing. Because, like, I guess if you're going to use salt, it needs to be, like, holy salt or something. Not just table salt from the grocery store.
Yeah.
So the ghost is at this point getting pissed. And also, the ghost is really funny, too, because the ghost is the ghost of a guy who got so scared by a cockroach, he jumped into the ceiling and killed himself.
Pleasant.
Yeah. So that's the ghost is. So the ghost is pissed. He's haunting the girl, and eventually Reagan is like, uh-oh, like, my salt's not working. I need to call Mob, which Mob is the main character who actually does have psychic powers. And Mob is this middle school student. He's a second-year middle school student that is working for Reagan.
Yes.
So Mob comes to the building, and he's just like, hi, Reagan, like, what did you want, basically. And he basically gets rid of the ghost and exorcises the ghost, and, like, with just a smack of his hand.
Yes. But he's completely oblivious to the fact that Reagan's like full of shit.
Yeah. So one thing about Mob is that he blocks off all of his emotions. Because of his psychic powers, he blocks off all of his emotions. So sometimes that also kind of makes him easily manipulated. And he's not very skeptical of Reagan. But he does, I think one thing he said too was that he was like, this wasn't even that hard. And Reagan was like, well, when you're this strong as me, sometimes you can't even get the little guys without destroying the whole, like, block of buildings.
Yeah.
So he's just constantly conning Mob. So after that, the ghost is exercised, and they head back to Reagan's office where they sit down, and he gets paid, which he literally gets paid 300 yen, which is, like, I think less than $3 in the United States.
Yeah.
So he's ripping Mob off too. And after that, Mob heads home. You kind of talked about more of Mob's life. And he is at school.
Got a mom and dad.
He's got a mom and dad, which Bill thought were siblings, and I was like, no.
They look similar.
Yeah, but everyone freaking does. Almost everyone has, like, the same, like, eyes and stuff. So that happens, and then after that, there's another job where Reagan was called to do, and it's at this abandoned tunnel where I guess people are dying and disappearing. So he brings Mob, and as soon as they go in, Mob is like, oh wow, I can definitely feel it. Oh no, we're getting surrounded. And they get surrounded by this ghost of a biker gang. Yep. Which, as you'll learn, all the ghosts are pretty goofy. At least in the beginning, they're pretty goofy. So Reagan's just like, basically he's like sweating and he's like shitting his pants, like, oh my god, I'm gonna die.
Well, I like how he runs off and then runs into the leader.
Yeah, so he's running away sweating, and then he runs smack dab into the leader of the ghost biker gang.
Does his salt shit again.
And does the salt thing again. And as Bill was pointing out, the show will go, and now Reagan will use his special move, table salt smash. Like, it's just like, and then it completely shits on him.
Yeah.
So Mob, in the meantime, is taking care of all the other ghosts, and then he meets up with Reagan, and he's like, you didn't do anything, did you? And he was like, well, I was taking care of this guy, but now I'm gonna leave him to you so you can grow stronger or something. So. And
then Mob goes and takes out the big bad that's been terrorizing the biker gang, and then they does it like effortlessly.
Yeah, he does it like immediately. It was like this big monster of like almost all the junk that had built up in that tunnel, and he takes him out. And at that point, and it's also, Mob is very nice, and he finds an old picture of the biker gang and gives it to the leader ghost, who was like partially exorcised to like this little ghosty blob, and then they're all able to like pass on after that, and that's kind of how episode 1 ends. So as episode 2 goes into, it starts out with this club at Mob's school, which is called the Telepathy Club. The Telepathy Club. I can't say it. Anyways, but it's
Club.
Telepathy Club. And basically, they're not actually a telepathy club.
No, it's just a bunch of kids fucking off in a room.
Yeah, it's a bunch of kids just hanging out in the room. And the scene opens up with the 5th member of the club going, I can't do this anymore, this sucks, and he quits. And immediately after he quits the club, the vice president of the student council comes, slams open the door and says, by tomorrow, this club is now canceled and a new club will be residing in this room.
Unless you can find a 5th member.
So it starts out with them, they like start freaking out, but then they're like, oh, okay, we just need to find a 5th member. So the vice president gives them like till the end of Friday, which I believe was like 2 days, they said. So they basically had 2 days to find another member. So the next day it starts out with them basically walking down the hallway, like asking people, and all these people are like, that's weird, or I'm in a club, but it's a lot of them calling them weird. And as they go on, they're starting to get more and more distressed to the point like where they're like freaking out.
And the faces are already goofy enough as it is.
Yep.
And they just become more and more deranged looking.
Yep. They get more and more deranged. So eventually, they asked everyone they can, and then they all start getting really depressed because they're like, everyone thinks we're weird. But eventually, one of them, a light bulb blinks off, and they remember Mob, because Mob is part of the Going Home Club, where he just goes home to his job. So they're like, this boy has no friends, no standards, and no activities. He's perfect for us. So the main leader of the club is this girl, and she's basically just like, join our club, please join our club.
She's very expressive.
Yes. And then Mob's just like, no, I have a job, sorry, you'll have to talk to my boss. So eventually she ends up talking to Reagan on the phone, and Reagan's just like, no, you can't join, because in the back of Reagan's mind is like, shit, my business, it's nothing without Mob. So he's basically like trying to convince Mob not to do that.
Yeah.
So Mob ends up not staying for the club and tells them he'll think about it, and goes to work for Reagan that day. And the job for Reagan, and then when he sits down with Reagan, he ends up talking to him. He's like, I kind of feel like I'm missing out on some things, and maybe I should join a club. And Reagan's like, no, you don't need to join a club. You don't need to join. So eventually, after that, they end up going out for their job. And their job is at a high school, where they were hired by these high school girls.
Oh yeah, they dress up as female high school students, and Reagan still has hairy legs, and he gets immediately caught.
Yeah.
The gate, but then they like, oh, get away from that freak little girl, and
yeah.
just pull Mob in, and he's like, shit.
Well, the funniest part too was like, Mob is just like, oh, okay, they know we're guys, and he's so happy that they're getting like like, he thinks he's also not being let in.
Yeah, so he doesn't
But
have to
then
deal
the cop just bends down and he's like, don't worry, sweetie. You're fine. And he's
Get
like,
away from this creep.
he was like, depression. So eventually Mob is walking through the school dressed up as a girl, and he heads to the rooftop to meet the clients. But when he gets there, there's 3 girls who are just a bunch of bullies, and they start bullying him, and he almost cries.
And then they find out the actual girls are
on the roof. So he meets up with the girls, and they look at him, and they're questioning, like, is this guy for real or not? Like, I don't think he's gonna be saving us anytime soon. So that's happening. So eventually they go and they walk through the building, and Mob's trying to kind of find the spiritual energy. So as they're going through, he's actually kind of following it, and eventually they're cornering it into the gym, into like a gym, where the girls' basketball team is playing.
Because it's a pervy ghost.
Yeah, because the ghost is a perv. Because one of the things they said was like the ghost was like moving like bras and underwear in like the log changing rooms because he was a creep. Oh yeah, he was also like the sniffing ghost, so I think he was sniff.
Let's move on.
Gross. Anyways, so as they go in, like, the girls are like, I don't know if this kid's for real or not. But then as soon as, like, he starts being like, it's here, they go into the gym.
Yeah, the second he sees the basketball stop, he just reveals it.
Yeah, he just reveals the ghost, and then he ends up exercising the ghost. But as the ghost is getting exercised, it goes, you're like me. You're nerdy and a loser like me who has no ambitions or anything. And Mom's just sitting there, and he's already taken this abuse from the girls before. And so on and so on. He's just getting more and more depressed. But eventually the ghost disappears, and he's still pretty depressed about it. But the girls do thank him, and he feels a little better after that. But because of that, the gears are starting to turn into his head, and he's like, maybe, like, I gotta figure out what to do to, like, better myself, and actually have goals in my life. So he's thinking about joining the club. And then as that is happening, the next day he ends up going, it's the Friday where the telepathy club
is going to get replaced by...
I don't want to say it, by another club. By another club. So as they go, Mob had just stopped by and was just about to talk to them as the door slams open, and it is the vice president of the club, of the student council, in the new club, which is the Body Improvement Club.
And it's a bunch of beefcake, like...
middle schoolers.
They
They all are super beefy.
They all look like freaking adults.
Yeah, they all look like adults and stuff. And once again, these are middle schoolers. So they're coming in to take the room, but the president of the telepathy club was like, no, we have another member.
Please sign this.
And he's like, really? So he turns to Mom and is like, are you really sure you want to be spending your time wasting with these idiots, eating snacks and playing video games? And he basically starts lecturing Mom, and the gears are turning in Mom's head.
Because he's secretly in love with the only attractive female in the entire world.
Yes, whose name is like Fuboshi.
It's the obvious one-sided love interest.
Yeah, so he's in love with this girl, and it starts to click in his brain that, like, it kind of plays back to him showing her psychic powers to her. And she's
it's implied that she's kind of a shallow girl who was that was cool for 5 minutes. I'm into something else now.
Yeah, and he realizes that girls don't care about that. They care about beefcakes. So Mob then goes, all right, I will join your club, and turns away from the telepathy club to the Body Improvement Club and goes, thank you for having me, Body Improvement Club.
Yeah, and then they just all collapse to the floor in shock.
Yo.
But the best part is then you find out that the Body Improvement Club is a bunch of really nice guys.
Oh yeah, like they seem intimidating, but they're honestly the nicest characters in the whole
To the point where they let the freaking guys stay in their club room because they only wanted it for storage.
So that's what happens in the next episode. So the next episode is Mob is training with the Body Improvement Club with the goal of getting closer to his beloved Tsubomi. That's her name.
It's just funny how, like, every character every like female in this series so far looks like a fucking monster, and then this
yeah.
one girl is just like normal.
Well, it's funny because even like the anime showcases it even more, because at one point when I think Tsubomi was first revealed, they had a bunch of other girls walking around.
Yeah,
and
they
were vegetables.
Vegetables.
And then as they turned the corner, you could see their face, and Bill was like, "Ugh!" Like,
yeah, they were not attractive at all.
Yep. So then this episode starts out with Mob joining the Body Improvement Club, and as they're running, he passes out because Mob has no physical abilities, but he wants to train to like get stronger and improve himself.
His whole reasoning is because it's for a girl.
Yeah, he's doing it for Tsubomi. So so he ends up fainting as he's running, and he ends up the guys all come to him immediately and carry him back because the Body Improvement Club is a bunch of sweethearts and they're the best boys of the show. So they bring him back, but the Telepathy Club is in the room because they're basically sitting there because they don't have a club room. And the Body Improvement Club is basically using the club for storage, and that's about it.
So he just lets them.
Lets them chill. So that's happening, and the girl's like, well, what are you doing? Like, you're being dumb, blah, blah, blah. Like, this isn't going to get you anywhere. You should have joined our club. And Mom's, like, a little disheartened, and he's like, all right, meh, meh, meh. So as he's going down, he ends up walking home, and he runs into this lady who's wearing, like, a creepy-ass smile mask. Yeah, it's, like, this smile, and she's like, oh, do you have family problems? And he's like, no, my family is great. Oh, are you bullied in school? He's like, no, I'm doing great in school. I have good grades and average grades. I can't complain. And she's listing all these things because she's in a cult, and she's trying to lure him. And then eventually she's like, oh, I know. It's your love life. And Bob's like, oh, how did you know? And immediately falls for it.
Yeah. And
then she's like, oh, you should come with me to this meeting where I can help you with your love life. And he's like, oh, I don't know. And he's like, it will help you get the girl. And he's like, I'm in.
Yeah.
And immediately falls for it.
Immediately changed his mind.
So as they go, as he's brought to this cult meeting, he's brought up on stage with two other people. One guy is a hobo, and one girl is actually in his class, and she's like a reporter. And she actually went herself to write a story on the cult itself. So she's there for research. And the cult leader the cult leader is possessed by an evil spirit. But basically
Dimples. And
his whole goal is that he wants to be a god. So he started this cult. But rather than using violent ways, he just makes everyone laugh and is happy, with air quotations. So he just makes everyone laugh, and they all follow his orders. And
he manipulates them by putting this mask on them and then brainwashes them while the mask's on their head.
Yeah, and it's also to keep the cult. So he ends up doing it to the hobo first. The hobo is all ha 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 ha, and then he does it to the girl, the high school girl in Mob's class, and she also starts laughing with the cult. And then he does it to Mob, and
nothing happens.
Nothing happens because Mob locks away his emotions. So as this is happening, the one thing about the show is that you'll constantly see this percentage, and it says percentage to Mob's explosion. And it'll be like 20%, 25%, 30%, 30, blah, 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 and it kind of keeps listing this out. So the cult leader, Dimple, is getting pissed because Mob has no emotion, so it's not working on Mob, and he's getting angry. So he first tries to make him laugh by putting him through a do not laugh test, and the only reason Mob did it was because he really likes milk.
Yeah.
So he just wanted to drink the milk.
And then proceeds to get spit in the face multiple times.
Yes, because all the people try to make him laugh, and then they just look at Mob after their attempt, and they laughed immediately. And Dimple's like, shit, making them laugh all the time made them laugh at everything. Damn it.
Then he cheats and does something to Mob's milk.
Yeah, he does something to Mob, and Mob is not expecting it. And then that's when Mob realizes, oh, you have special powers like me. So as they're going on, they're kind of bantering back and forth, and then Dimple proceeds to kind of start putting Mob down, which is making his percentage meter go higher and higher and higher. So eventually, it gets to the point where Mom basically called him out on having like powers, psychic powers, and then eventually figured out like he's an evil spirit, and like a fight is about to happen, and Dimple ends up leaving his body, leaving the possessed person's body. He's this like big buff green guy, and then they end up fighting, but Mob's percentage hits 100, and when it hits 100, that means Mob lets out his emotion, and at this point, his emotion was anger, so he's letting out all his anger at 100%, which makes him super freaking strong. So he ends up defeating Dimple, and Dimple's like, you can't defeat me, and then gets defeated very easily because Mob is OP. So after that, all the people in the cult are back to normal, and Mob pieces out because he's over it. And he walks back, and he's basically like, oh, whatever. So he goes home, and then the next morning he wakes up, and Dimple is there. And that's basically where that episode ends.
Yeah.
But Dimple is now there as a little puff of cloud.
This little tiny ghost buddy who can see through he completely sees through everyone's bullshit, too.
Oh, yeah. And,
But Mob is too oblivious to notice.
Yeah. So, the next episode starts out with Mob is like, first he checks to see if Dimple, if he's dreaming, and rather than pinching himself, he just slams
Dimple
against the ground a whole bunch of times. And then, eventually he also figures out that now, the girl from the newspaper club who was at the cult meeting starts following Mob around.
Because they all worship Mob now.
Yeah, because now the cult worships Mob as the, I think it's like the bowl cut, psycho bowl cut, like,
yeah,
cult or something. But Dimple's following him around and is basically like, oh, you should use your psychic powers. And Mob's like, no, I don't use my psychic powers for anything besides, like, exercising spirits. He's a good boy, and Reagan always told him that he should never use his psychic powers against people.
Yeah.
So this is going on, and then, like, a kind of side story is happening where these delinquents from Mob School are fighting these delinquents from Black Vinegar Middle School. And the leader of the delinquents from their school is a JoJo's reference. It's making fun of Josuke from from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, not One Punch Man. And there's a lot of parody elements with a lot of One's works. And
also the fact that One Punch Man appears like multiple times throughout the anime.
Oh yeah.
As like a manga.
There's little little peeps and boops and bops. So at one point there is the leader of the gang is trying to get the Body Improvement Club to fight his battle for them, because he can't win. And the Body Improvement Club is super buff, so they would obviously win. So Mob is so the leader decides. So the Body Improvement Club is just like, no, we're not going to do that. We just want to improve our fitness and be healthy.
Yeah.
Because they're good boys. So the leader of the gang was like, all right, we're going to use Mob as bait. So basically he puts a love note. He writes a love note and signs it with, I'm a girl.
Yeah, that's so obviously not written by a girl.
Very obvious, not written by a girl. And even Dimple's like, you're being tricked. That's not by a girl. But Mob, being the sweet boy that he is and not oblivious to everything, falls for it.
Also desperate for love.
And desperate for love is like, well, if they are a girl, I don't want to not show up. So he ends up showing up at the spot where the rival gang from the Vinegar Middle School is waiting for him. Well, not waiting for him, they show up at the same time. And they basically kidnap him and bring him back. But a note was also given to the Body Improvement Club that said, oh, we took your friend Mob, and you gotta come get him back from here. So they end up going to go save Mob. And as eventually Mob is tied up to a chair, and they're all just like, me, like, you're gonna fight us. And then someone comes in and goes, oh my god, these really tough kids from Mob's middle school came, and like we can't beat them, we need help. So the rest of their gang comes out, and it's of course the Body Improvement Club is here to save Mob. And then Mob gets out of his chair bindings pretty easily, and he just walks up to him and is like, hey guys, I missed you, thanks for coming to get me. Because he's so wholesome. But then as the episode ends with the Body Improvement Club beating the crap out of everyone else, the shadow leader of the gang, Taruki, appears, who is also a psychic. So the next episode...
Cactus Head.
Yes, Cactus Head.
So the intro.
So the next episode starts out with Mob, like, Taruki ends up, like, beating the Body Improvement Club because he has psychic powers, which makes him really strong, too.
And Bob's like, you can't use them on people.
Yeah, and Mom's like, you're not supposed to do that. And the guy's like, what? Use your psychic powers. And he's like, what? And then Mob, of course, unties himself very easily and is like, you're not supposed to do that. We're only supposed to use our powers to exorcise ghosts, blah, blah, blah. Never use it on human. But Taruki is now, like, he's never seen another psychic use it. So he's kind of been, like, on this pedestal and thinks he's kind of better than everyone. But he quickly will learn he ain't better than Mob. So he's basically trying to make Mob fight him. And as you'll see throughout the episode, Mob's percentage is going up and up and up. But they're fighting, and at one point, he has Mob cornered into a room. So Mob does and throws knives at him. So Mob does throw the knife. So Mob does deflect the knife.
After he throws the knives at Mob.
Yeah, Mob deflects the knives and accidentally
cuts his hair off the top of his head.
Shaves the head off the top of his head with the knife. So now that Taruki is basically bald on the top of his head. So it makes Taruki even more angry and threatened by Mob. So he ends up actually like choking Mob. And at this point, his percentage meter is like almost at 100. But before it actually gets to 100, Mob passes out. And when Mob passes out, it becomes this, his powers awaken at this unknown percentage. So he didn't actually hit 100 at this point. It's like, it will actually show in the show, question mark, question mark, question mark. And then Taruki proceeds to realize that he is way out of his league.
And he's fucked.
And he's fucked. And one punch from Mob, and it strips him butt naked and sends him shooting through the sky with all the rubber. And there's always a conveniently placed rock, too.
Yes.
Except for the end where it's just Mob obliterated it away, as Bill concluded. So Taruki's up in the sky, and he's finally realizing, he's like, shit, I am not the strongest guy in the world anymore. So after that happens, after Mob calms down...
Well, then it's like implied that his sadness like fixes everything.
Yeah, so after that, after Mob calms down, he leaves percentage mode, but he actually is now crying because he doesn't like using that power because he's used it in the past around his brother from childhood. And I kind of forgot to mention it, but at this point we kind of know he has a brother, and his brother is also kind of afraid of Mob because of the incident that happened to him like a couple years ago when they were kids. So Mob is now upset, and now his percentage raises to 100. And through Mob, rather than being angry this time, Mob is sad, and it proceeds to repair the building back to normal like nothing ever happened. So after that, like, Taro and him talk, and Taro, like, apologizes and decides to change his ways a little bit.
The best is though when his gang shows up and they're like, "Oh my god, he defeated him, stripped him, and shaved him. Get out of here!"
And they all run and abandon him, which is pretty funny. But Taruki ends up deciding that, all right, I need to change my ways. And Mob ends up just going home. Well, Mob and the Body Improvement Club just end up going home and finishing their club activities. But as Mob goes home, he ends up, like, his brother ends up chatting with him and is like, is everything okay today?
And he explains the whole, like, how he's, like, he implies, like, the whole, like, are you okay? Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. He ends up, well, at first, he's like, Mom says, I'm sorry for what happened a couple years ago. And then his brother is like, oh, you mean like when you threw up on me? And he's like, well, I'm sorry about that too. When you threw up on my hood
on the car.
Yeah, he's like, I'm sorry about that too, but I meant the incident with those bullies from years ago. And his brother kind of just brushes it off. But then as his brother goes into his room, he, it's kind of implied, he, like, looks back at the footage from what happened where all the rubble was in the sky and the reports, and he knows it was his brother. And it kind of shows that, like, there's, like, this, not tension, but, like, he has a jealousy but fear of his brother, where he wishes he had these psychic powers.
Basically, he's got a brother complex.
Yeah, he has a brother complex. He's afraid of his brother, but he also kind of envies his brother. But Mob, at the same time, envies him. For kind of like being able to express his emotions and kind of live a normal life. So, and that's kind of where it ended with episode 5. So I guess, what did you think?
It was interesting. I like the art style, like aside from how fucked up all the humans look.
But that's what's funny about it,
Yeah, it was just funny how like only the main characters seem to like look normal. Well, some of them, anyways.
Yeah, some of them.
I like the art style. I like how it looked like a watercolor painting most of it.
Yeah, that's what I like that about it.
I love the no nonsense plot, like how like there's no like. It's just so fucking random.
Yeah.
At times, it's like One Punch Man, but like a little bit, but there's a bit more of a story, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
At least early on.
Yeah, One Punch Man gets more of a story, but continue.
I like that. It was cool comparing like the Funimation in different eras, because like Funimation from Dragon Ball compared to Funimation now, like completely different VAs. Completely different like overall like style of like how they dub now. You can tell modern dubbing has improved significantly over the years.
Oh yeah.
It was definitely interesting. I'll probably pick it up again at some point.
Yeah.
I have a lot of other things to get through first, but...
Yeah, there is a season 3 they announced, though, so...
That's good.
That's a reason to watch it, so you can watch season 3.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty cool. I mean, I love the whole, like, picking 2 animes that don't go together at all.
No, yeah.
We're definitely going to do something next. I'm thinking we're going to mix action with slice of life next time.
Yeah, so JoJo's with...
Something, I'm not sure yet. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was interesting. Definitely, so, this is a cool concept. Better than just rambling on about anime.
Yeah.
Like
Rather than just rambling, actually, like, kind of breaking a show down, talking about it.
At least attempting to, anyways.
Yeah.
And branching out a little.
Yeah.
But anyways, guys, once again, thanks for joining us on the Gaming and Collecting Podcast, even though we didn't talk about gaming that much this episode. But anyways,
there was a Game Boy in Mob Psycho 100.
And that poor kid, because the other one had a PSP and the other one had a freaking DS.
Yep, and he just had a
Game Boy.
Game Boy.
Yeah.
Original.
Go for Game Boy.
Yep. Maybe he was a collector like you and was just enjoying it.
Retro gamer right
You
there.
don't know.
But, anyways, guys, thanks again for joining us on the Gaming and Collecting Podcast. You can find the Gaming and Collecting Podcast on all your major podcasting platforms, particularly Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And we're also made on Anchor Podcasts. And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram, along with Good Pods. Woo! And the episodes eventually come out on YouTube. There's no schedule for that. It's just whenever I get around to it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, guys, thanks again for joining us, and we will see you all next time.
Woo!
See you all later.
See you later.